I never thought I'd be the type of woman to wreck her own marriage, yet here I am watching everything fall apart because I couldn't keep my stupid mouth shut. Hi, I'm Sharon, 28 and 3 years ago. I thought I had it all figured out when I married Walter. Now I'm sitting alone in an apartment that feels too big and too empty, wondering how I managed to throw away a perfectly good life. I met Walter right after I'd broken up with Vince. And I had been together for 2 years, and it was intense, the kind of relationship where you can't keep your hands off each other 1 minute, and then you were screaming at each other the next. Me friends always said we had this electric connection. Looking back, they were probably just describing toxicity with a prettier word, but I was obsessed with him. When Vince finally broke things off because he wasn't ready to settle down, I was crushed. Walter was different from the beginning. He was stable, kind, and actually called when he said he would have had a good job and it owned his own condo and had this calm confidence I found so reassuring after the constant drama with Vince. Within a year, Walter and I were married, and I convinced myself I was happier with this peaceful life than ever was on the emotional roller coaster with Vince. Then I got pregnant. We were both excited, Walter especially. He turned our spare bedroom into a nursery, read all the baby books, and came to every appointment. When our son was born, I suggested the name Vince, telling Walter it was after my grandfather. That was a completely, there was no Grandpa Vincent. I just couldn't let go of my past. I guess Walter loved the name, completely oblivious to the fact that I'd named Urson after the ex-boy friend I couldn't forget after Vincent was born. Everything changed. Walter was still Walter, supportive, loving, present, but I was drowning in diapers, sleepless nights, and a body that didn't feel like me anymore. Walter would come home from work tired, but would still take Vincent from my arms, giving me time to shower or just breathe. He tried so hard, but instead of appreciating him, I found myself getting annoyed at how he loaded the dishwasher, how he'd ask what I wanted for dinner when I clearly had no energy to make decisions, small stupid things. Meanwhile, I started scrolling through old photos in my phone during those late night feedings, photos of Vincent me from years ago. I told myself it was just nostalgia, that I was just missing who I used to be before I became someone's wife and someone's mom. Around Vincent's first birthday, I did something I knew was wrong. I reached out to Vince on Facebook, just a casual "Hey, how have you been?" with a recent photo of me, where I actually did my hair and makeup. I told myself there was nothing wrong with catching up with an old friend. Vince didn't respond for 3 days, and I checked my phone obsessively. When he finally did, it was like being hit with a wave of emotions I thought he'd buried. "Wow, you still look amazing. He wrote, life's been crazy, but I think about you all the time. You were the one that got away." Our messages quickly became more frequent and intense. He'd disappear for days sometimes, then come back with messages like, "I miss your laugh so mucker. I was just thinking about that weekend at the beach house." He'd say things like, "I wish you were here with me right now instead of with him." And noon gets me like you do. When I sent him a selfie after getting my hair done, he replied, "Damn, you look so good." He doesn't deserve you. It was toxic and deep down. I knew it, but it felt like oxygen after months of feeling like I was suffocating in my perfect little life. Walter Noticetti was on my phone more, but didn't question it. Instead, he tried harder, planning date nights, bringing home my favorite takeout, even scheduling a cleanings to come twice a month so I'd have less to worry about. "You seem a million miles away lately," Walter said one night as we got ready for bed. "I just want to make you happy again. Tell me what you need." "I'm fine," I said, not looking up from my phone. Just the next day, Vince sent me a message saying, "Send me a pic of you now. I need to see your face." And I found myself taking selfie after selfie until I found one I thought looked good and beautiful. He wrote back, "But I'm seeing all of you." I knew what he was asking for. I told myself I wouldn't do it. I was a mother, a wife. But that night after Walter fell asleep, I sent Vince exactly what he wanted, and somehow, in twisted logic, I convinced myself it wasn't really cheating because it was just pictures. It wasn't physical. As few weeks went on, my conversations with Vince got more intense. Each message was like a drug. You'd feel this rush when I saw his name pop up on my screen, followed by this desperate need to respond immediately. Meanwhile, Walter was working overtime totally to reconnect with me, coming home with little surprises that I found first and trying to hard. "You know what I love about you," Vince messaged one night. "You never needed anyone to take care of you. You're not like other girls who just want security." It was exactly what I wanted to hear, that I was special, different, not boring like I felt in my marriage. The fact that Walter was literally taking care of me every day, helping with Vincent, paying our bills, being our responsible partner, suddenly seemed like evidence that I'd settled rather than something to appreciate. I started hiding me phone. Whenever Walter was around, I'd take it into the bathroom with me or wait until he was busy with Vincent. Torspin to Vince I'd stay up after Walter. Went to bed telling him I wanted to watch TV when really I was messaging Vince. Soon our phone conversations turned into explicit messes and inappropriate pictures. I sent him photos I would die if anyone else saw. He told me in graphic detail what he wanted to do if we were alone at each other, all while Walter was trying harder than ever to fix whatever was wrong in our marriage. The night everything fell apart started like any other. Walter came home from work or little help with Vincent taking over baby duty so I could shower and have some time to myself. He even ordered dinner so I wouldn't have to cook after we put Vincent to bed. Walter suggested we watch the movie together. I agreed, though I kept my phone in my hand waiting for Vince to respond to my earlier message. Sharon, can we talk like really talk? Walter asked after noticing checking my phone again. About what? About us, about what's happening here. He gestured between us. I feel like I'm losing you and I don't even know why. I've been trying everything I can think of to make you happy, but nothing seems to work. I'm just tired, I said using misstandard excuse. It's not about you. I didn't believe that. Walter said quietly. I used to be a team now. It feels like we're living separate lives under the same roof. Is there someone else? Walter asked directly. My heart stopped. What? No. Oh, could you ask me that because you realize on your phone, because you pull away when I touch you, because you seem happy sometimes for no reason and then disappointed without explanation? Walter looked at me for a long moment, then stood up. I think I'm going to go to bed. I'm tired of feeling like I'm fighting for someone who doesn't want to be fought for. I watched him walk to our bedroom feeling a mix of guilt and relief. I picked up my phone again and saw Vince had finally replied. I can't stop thinking about you. Send me another pic, something just for me. I glanced toward the bedroom, then quietly took a revealing photo and sent it. He responded immediately. You're so hot, I want you so bad. He must be blind or stupid not to appreciate what he has. I went to the bedroom to find Walter reading in bed. He changed into my pajamas and got into bed beside him. Walter put his book down and turned off his lamp, then lay with his back to me. After a few minutes he rolled over and touched my shoulder. Sharon hesitated softly. I love you. Whatever is wrong we can fix it together. Genuine emotion in his voice made my chest hurt. He moved closer, his hand gently caressing my arm, clearly wanting to reconnect physically. I didn't push him away, but I didn't encourage him either. His touch felt far and somehow wrong. He must have sensed my hesitation. Beckus, he stopped. What is it? He asked. What am I doing wrong? Nothing, I lied. I'm just not in the mood. You're never in the mood anymore. Hesitated, frustration finally creeping into his voice. Not just for sex, but for us, for anything involving me. That's not true, I protested weakly. Then what is true? Sharon, help me understand what's happening. I couldn't tell him the truth, so instead I said nothing. Staring at the ceiling, Walter sat up, turning on his lamp again. I can't do this anymore. This silence, this distance, it's killing me. Just tell me what you want. What I wanted was the excitement Vince made me feel without the complications. What I wanted was impossible. Walter was looking at me so intently, his eyes pleading for something I couldn't give him. And in that moment, frustrated by his neediness, annoyed by his persistence, I muttered under my breath what I thought was too quiet for him to hear. I miss how Vince made me feel. The second the words left me mouth, I knew I'd made a terrible mistake. Walter's expression changed instantly, his face draining of color. Had heard me every word. Who the hell is Vince? He asked, his voice dangerously quiet. The silence that followed my slip was deafening. My interest for an explanation, any explanation, but the look on Walter's face told me it was too late for lies. An old friend estimated a friend. Walter repeated, his voice hollow. And what exactly do you miss about how this friend made you feel? I said nothing, panic rising in my chest. Walter reached for my phone on the nightstand. I lunged for it, but he was faster. Walter, don't, if he's just a friend. You won't mind me looking, right? I watched in horror as he unlocked my phone. He knew my password, of course. Headed on, began scrolling through my messages. His expression changed from suspicion to shock to disgust as he read the exchanges between Vince and me. His hand started shaking. What is this? He whispered. These pictures. Sharon, what have you been doing? It's not what it looks like, I said desperately. We were just talking. This isn't just talking, this is. He stopped abruptly, staring at the screen. Wait, Vince Vincent named our son after him. The blood drained from my face. I'd never considered that Walter would make that connection. No, I lied. Automatica Vincent is named after my grandfather. You know that your grandfather, Walter repeated flatly. The grandfather you never mentioned before you were pregnant. The grandfather none of your family ever talks about. He stopped, a terrible realization dawning on his face. There is no grandfather. Vincent is there. Missilence was answer enough. Walter stood up, still clutching my phone. Who is he? Toyo, an ex. Someone you worked with. My ex-boyfriend, I whispered. From before Ima too, how long has this been going on? Things going on, I insisted. We're just sticking, stop lying, Walter shouted, making him flinch. He never raised his voice. I can see the messages, Sharon. I can see the pictures you sent him. My God, you named our child after him. How could you do something so disgusting, so disrespectful? I had no defense. Instead, I went on the attack. You don't understand. You don't make me feel the way he does. Walter laughed bitterly. The guy who's asking you for pictures while I'm taking care of Urson, the guy who hasn't had to deal with midnight feedings or diaper changes or any actual responsibilities, that guy. He threw my phone on the bed and walked to Theclaset, pulling out a duffel bag. What are you doing? I asked, panic rising. What does it look like I'm leaving? I can't even look at you right now, Walter, please, I said, suddenly desperate. It was just messages. It didn't mean anything, Heather, to me. His eyes filled with a pain I'd never seen before. If it didn't mean anything, why did you do it? Why did you hide it? Why did you name our son after him? I had no answer. Walter stuffed clothes into the bag haphazard. I need to get out of here before I say something I'll regret. I'll be back tomorrow too. See Vincent on, figure out what happens next. But we're done, Sharon. No one comes back from this kind of betrayal. It was just words, I protested. I didn't actually cheat on you. Walter paused, looking at me with disgust. You really don't get it, do you? This is cheating. The lies, the secrets, the emotional intimacy with someone else, that's cheating. And naming our child after him, that's a whole other level of betrayal I don't even have words for. He zipped up the bag and walked toward the door. I followed him, tears finally streaming down my face. Please don't go, I begged. Think about Vincent. Walter stopped at the mention of Urson's name, his shoulders tensing. I am thinking about Vincent. That's the only reason I'm not saying what I really want to say to you right now. He turned to face me one last time. We're getting a divorce. I'll be back tomorrow to work out temporary arrangements for our son. And with that he walked out. I stood in the silent apartment, the weight of what he'd done finally hitting me. Walter made good on his promise to return. The next morning his eyes were red-rimmed from lack of sleep, but his voice was steady as he laid out his terms. I'll take Vincent to my brother's for the weekend, he said. We need to work out a temporary custody arrangement until the divorce is finalized. After Walter left with Vincent, the apartment felt suffocatingly empty. I checked my phone. Vince had responded to me desperate message from the night before. Damn, that's intense. You okay? What are you going to do now? Not I'm sorry, or this is partly my fault, to just curiosity about the drama. I don't know, I texted back. He's talking about divorce. I've took Vincent for the weekend, that is Rao. Vince replied, want to meet up? Might help to talk in person despite everything falling apart around me. I felt a surge of excitement. Yes, I replied immediately. Tonight my place, I'll order some food. I agreed without hesitation, spending the rest of the day alternating between panic over my imploding marriage and anticipation about Vince. When I arrived at his apartment that evening, he greeted me with a long hug that turned into something more. The chemistry was still there, exactly as I'd remembered. Within an hour I'd crossed the fine line. What had been an emotional affair became physical, and in the twisted logic of the moment, I justified it by telling myself marriage was already over. Afterward, laying in his bed, reality started to creep back. And what am I going to do? I asked, more to myself than to him. Vince shrugged. You'll figure it out. You always do. Not will figure it out. Not I'm here for you. Just a casual dismissal of the crisis I was facing. My whole life is falling apart, I said. Walter's talking about getting lawyers involved. That sucks. Vince set his attention already drifting to his phone. Hey, I've got an early meeting tomorrow. So the dismissal was clear. I'd given him what he wanted, and now he was done, at least for the moment. Over the next few days the pattern repeated itself. My parents called, devastated. My friends texted, some sympathetic but most shocked at what I'd done. Walter's family, who had welcomed me's one of their own, now treated me like a stranger during custody exchange. Or it at all. Vince remained inconsent, passionate. One day to stand next he'd invite me over, then cancel at the last minute. He'd bombard me with messages, then disappear for days. It was exactly how he behaved when we dated years ago, but now I was too emotionally dependent on him to walk away. 2 weeks after Walter left, Vince invited me to bring Vincent over to his apartment. I should meet the little guy, he said, sincere. Getting serious again. Vincent was fussy that day, overtired from the disruption to his routine. When he wouldn't stop crying at Vince's apartment, I saw a flash of annoyance cross Vince's face. Does he ever stop? He's tunes a baby, I said defensively, and he's been through a lot of changes. Vince shrugged. I guess. Look, maybe this isn't the best time. Why don't you drop him off with your parents or something and come back later, just us? That was the first moment I felt a real pang of doubt about what I was doing, but instead of listening to it, I called my mom and asked if she could watch Vincent for a few hours. She agreed reluctantly. Her disappointment evident in her voice 3 months after Walter walked out. I was living in a smaller apartment with Vincent. Half the time the divorce proceedings were underway, with Walter being surprisingly civil for someone I'd hurt so deeply. He spoke to me only about Vincent, his tone businesslike and distant. Vince had settled into a pattern of seeing me once or twice a week, always at his convenience, never making concrete plans or commitments. I'd started to notice the red flags I'd ignored before: how he only called when he wanted something, how he never asked about Vincent, how he made excuses when I needed support. One morning after Vince had cancelled plans for the 3rd time in 12 weeks, I woke up feeling nauseous. I bought a pregnancy test, and there it was, 12 pink lines that changed everything yet again. When I told Vince, his reaction was exactly what I should have expected, but somehow still shocked me. "Are you sure it's mine?" he asked immediately. "Yes," I said, hurt by the implication. "Walter and he haven't been together since before he left." Vince ran a hand through his hair, pacing his living room. "This is not what I signed up for, Sharon. I'm not ready to." "But Dad, you think I planned this?" I asked it incredulously. "I'm already a single mom. Half the time the last thing I wanted was another baby right now." "So what are you going to do?" he asked, the emphasis on "you" saying everything. "Don't you mean what are we going to do?" I corrected. He looked at me for a long moment. "Look, Akari, about you, but I never said anything about settling down, especially not with someone else's kid already in the picture and another on the way." He didn't call. He didn't text. After a week of silence, I went by his apartment only to find he blocked my number. The doorman told me he'd instructed them not to let me up. I'd been completely cut off. The next day was a custody exchange with Walter as a haunted Vincent over. Walter noticed said something different about me. "Are you sick?" he asked, the first personnel question he'd asked in months. I hesitated, then decided honesty was the only option left. "I'm pregnant," I said quietly. Walter stared at me, connecting dots immediately. He let out a short bitter laugh and shook his head. "Well," he said finally, "looks like I dodged a bullet." The word stung because they were true. Walter hadn't walked out because he stopped loving me. He'd walked out because he respected himself too much to stay with someone who betrayed him so completely. And now watching him strip Vincent into his car seat with gentle care, Vincent, the son he loved unconditionally, despite knowing he was named after another man, I realized what he'd thrown away as Walter's car pulled out of the parking lot. I caught a glimpse of someone in the passenger seat, a woman with dark hair. My stomach twisted with an unexpected jealousy. Walter was moving on. Of course, he wasn't a woman. Would be lucky to have him standing alone outside my apartment building, one hand resting on my still flat stomach. I faced the consequences of me choices. I would soon be a single mother of 2 children with different fathers. The passionate relationship I'd convinced myself was worth destroying my marriage for had been nothing but a fantasy, and the stable, loving partner I'd taken for granted was gone forever. I wish I could say I learned some profound lesson from all this. Thought I grew as a person or found some deeper understanding of myself, but the truth, I seem still that same selfish woman who whispered. "I miss how Vince made me feel and shattered her family." I still find ways to blame everyone but myself. Walter for not being exciting enough, Vince for letting me on, my friends for encouraging my hormones, for the pregnancy. Deep down though, in the moments of honesty,